All right, everybody, thank you for being here. My name is Dave Kirby. I'm a member of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. And today's a special day. We have a few things going on here, as you can see. This year is our 50th anniversary for the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, and it is the 120th anniversary from a very historic event where our namesake, Father Murgas, Father Joseph Murgas, transmitted in what we now know as Morse code, one of the first transmissions over land. And so we thought, what a better way than to present a program in his honor and to recreate this event. This transmission happened in 1905, and it helped lead the way to modern radio as we know it now. I'd like to thank King's College and the University of Scranton. Right now, we are actually on a live Zoom, so they can see us and we can see them, and we'll be able to hear their speakers and vice versa. So I appreciate both the University of Scranton and King's College for allowing this to happen. Go on, okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, we lost the Zoom screen.
Okay. All right, give them a few minutes to rectify the technical difficulties here.
Technology's no better than it was in 1905. Yeah, no, this computer lost it. Okay.
And for the record, our Zoom link was good. It's their Zoom link that was down.
All right, Dr. Nathaniel, can you hear me here?
No competition at all. No. We're all working together here. But I do see them.
Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Frizzell, can you hear me here?
You can see what I'm
Wilkes-Barre?
seeing too. And for the record, our Zoom link was good. It's their Zoom link that was down.
All right, Dr. Nathaniel, can you hear me here? Oh,
I can hear you. No competition at all. No. We're all working together here. But I do see them.
Are we ready?
Okay, so I think it's my turn to welcome people to this event. So here at the University of Scranton, we have Mayor Paige Cognetti of Scranton. She's up in the amateur radio station along with Father Joseph Marina, the president of the University of Scranton. We also have Bill Gallagher, WA3RA. He is our radio operator, and he's a member of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, and he also volunteers with the University of Scranton W3USR. We have Nina Torman, KD3BJV, senior physics major at the University of Scranton and treasurer of W3USR. Up with her is Owen Rosansky, Liam Miller, and Rebecca Potter, who are also officers of W3USR. Here in the PNC auditorium where I'm located, we have Bob Wilson, W3BIG. He's the ARRL Eastern Pennsylvania section manager. We have members of the Lackawanna Blind Association who are studying to become ham radio operators, and some of them already have. I'd like to welcome all of the members of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club who may be here. Raise your hand if you are. So we've got quite a few of those. And students, faculty, and staff of the University of Scranton and the W3USR Amateur Radio Club. So welcome all, and back over to Wilkes.
All right,
Wilkes-Barre.
thank you, Dr. Nathaniel Frizzell. I actually didn't get to my dignitaries yet because of the loss of the video feed, but I'm going to go through them right now. We do have several dignitaries here that I'd like to introduce. Mayor George C. Brown of Wilkes-Barre is joining us today. Father Thomas Looney, President of King's College. Michael Stratansky and Michael Navraki of the Slovak Heritage Society of Northeast PA. Herb Krumich, member of the Board of Directors of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. Dr. Richard Abramovich, Vice President of the Murgas Club. He was also today's program coordinator. He did an incredible amount of work to make this happen today, so we want to say special thanks to him. President Tom Maka, who's the president of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. Rick Reinheimer, Public Information Officer and the Secretary of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. And Dr. William V. Lewis, the Commissioner and Vice Chair of the PA Historical and Museum Commission, and he's also a member of the Luzerne County Historical Society. All right, so let's see here. We will skip the next line because Dr. Nathaniel already did that. Father Looney, if you don't mind coming up to give the invocation at this time, please.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Loving and gracious God, as we gather today to celebrate the 120th anniversary of public transmission of wireless telegraphy and the 50th anniversary of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, we bless you and we ask you to bless us. We bless you for in every time and age you raise up men and women with creative spirits, as you did your servant and priest, Father Joseph Murgas, a man who was multi-talented, a Renaissance man, a painter, a botanist, a collector of butterflies, a man of amazing strength and amazing zeal and amazing wisdom. We thank you for his wisdom in creating the possibility of wireless telegraphy. We thank you and we bless you for his goodness. We bless you for those who carry on that tradition as amateur radio club members. We bless you for your goodness. And we ask you to bless us. We thank you for the means of communication by which you call us to communicate with each other as your beloved sons and daughters, to communicate words that will build up communities, words that will bring life and blessing to others. May the work of all those in communication that we commemorate today, may they speak words that are uplifting, words of blessing, words of peace. Bless us this day and this celebration. May it bring us closer to you. May we be men and women who work by the words that we speak and the communication that we engage to work for justice so that your gift of peace may envelop our world. And we ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
All right, this time I'm going to ask President Tom Maka of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club to come up and give a brief history of our club. Tom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome, and I'd like to thank you for being here today to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club and also the 120th anniversary of Father Murgas' first known wireless overland transmission. And I'd also like to thank everyone that's attending at the University of Scranton today and at the radio station W3USR. But we're mostly here as well to celebrate Father Murgas and all of his accomplishments, especially all of his early innovations in radio technology, including the first wireless overland transmission in 1905. I'm not going to give you too much history of Father Murgas. The gentleman from the Slovak Heritage Society will cover that today. But the club all started with a bunch of local amateur radio operators that would meet at Al's Surplus in Hanover Township in the early 70s. At the time, it was a loose association of amateur radio operators, and they'd hang out and talk and gather on Sunday morning to have coffee. And so at some point in time, they had an idea that they were going to form an amateur radio club and formalize things a bit. But in 1972, when Hurricane Agnes occurred, devastated the Wyoming Valley and displaced a lot of residents, tens of thousands of people from their homes. At that time, communication was difficult at best with, a lot of the telephone lines being out of commission. So at that time, they really didn't have a very good means of communicating. So some of the local amateur radio operators stepped in to help out and try to figure out where people's families were. So, and then again in 1974, Hurricane Eloise threatened the valley once again with flooding. And at this point in time, it was really recognized amongst the amateur radio community that they really did need to formalize and form a group. So in 1975, on November 7th, the first meeting of what would become the Murgas Amateur Radio Club was held at Pomeroy's conference room at the Wyoming Valley Mall. There were 14 amateur radio operators that attended that meeting, and at that meeting, the temporary officers were elected. The members realized at that time that they needed a more permanent place to meet. They asked Reverend Charlie Hooker, the priest at Westminster Presbyterian Church, who was also an amateur radio at that time, to use the club or the church's auditorium. And at the next meeting, that was held in 1974, and at this point in time, the club didn't even have a name yet. One of the members, J. Campbell Collins, who was an attorney, suggested they name the club in honor of Father Joseph Murgas. Father Murgas was a Slovak Catholic priest that was assigned to Sacred Heart Church on North Main Street, just a few blocks away from here. J. Campbell Collins persisted in naming the club after Father Murgas. Some of the club members had objected to naming the club after a person, but what club records that we do have show that after some talk and debate, they agreed to name the club after him. So the name Murgas Amateur Radio Club was officially adopted on February 4th, 1975. There are some letters, by the way, in the back of the room and also at the University of Scranton on display between J. Campbell Collins and Father Beta, who at that time, Father Beta was the parish priest for Sacred Heart. And the letters basically talk about the club members asking Father Beta for permission and blessings to name the club after Father Murgas. So after the passing of J. Campbell Collins, whose call sign was K3YTL, the club adopted his call sign, which we use now as our club call sign, K3YTL. So another suggestion at one of the early meetings was to build a replica of the towers that Father Murgas used for his experiments, which the replica is standing behind me. One of the members worked at that time at Intermetro Wire and built them out of very high quality stainless steel. They stood outside of the church for several decades, but now they're here at King's. So the club's been around now for 50 years, longer than I've been. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at the Luzerne County Emergency Operations Center, and we have our annual Ham Fest every year in early July, usually around the 4th of July weekend. We participate in both Winter Field Day and our ARRL Field Day at the end of June. Many of our members still participate in amateur radio emergency service, helping to provide emergency communications in time of need. And we also hold our weekly night every Thursday night on our club-sponsored repeater, the 14545 with the PL tone of 82.5. So we do strive to do our best to promote the hobby and encourage everyone to join our ranks. We provide exam sessions for everyone that wants to get their amateur radio license or even upgrade to a higher class. So I'd just like to say that even though I'm relatively new to the hobby, it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve as president, and I'm glad that everyone can be here, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask Michael Novraki and Michael Strastansky to present a brief biography of Father Murgas. If you don't mind coming up to the podium, please. Thank you.
This is wonderful. so many people from the Slovak Heritage Society are no longer with us, who all helped and supported and helped create that room. Before I start some of the information that I have for you, I'd like to explain how this all came to be. In 1988, a History Day teacher in Valley West, Mary Jean Tarantini, had done some research on Father Murgas. And then Michael Navraki and Scott Stefanidis took it over, and they made a 5-minute video on radio's Forgotten Genius. And they went all the way through and won a national title for that video. And at that time, the Heritage Society sort of took up the torch, and then we made another video for public television that's about a half-hour long. It constantly is running in the room. So this is really a grand thing to have happen to us. Now, oh, here. Now, that's the earliest picture we have of Father Murgas. This is taken at his ordination, and that was in Bansta Brzezińska in the Slovak Republic. That was where the cathedral was. This is his home. His parents were very, very poor, but he wanted to be educated as best as he could. There was a teacher in the area who started working with him and was absolutely amazed that this young man had the intellect that he had. He was like a sponge. He just soaked up knowledge all over. But his main passion at the time was sketching and drawing. He absolutely had such a talent for it. And this is one of the classically trained paintings that he did. This is Jesus before Pilate. When he was a young seminarian, the bishop saw that he was very, very talented and decided to send him to the Art Institute in Munich. And there he learned to paint in the classical style. One of the original paintings we do have in the room, and that is Jesus in the temple. This is St. Elizabeth. These paintings are in Europe, and there are about 200 other paintings that are in the Slovak Republic that are altarpieces or are in churches. There are many, many paintings in this country, but we have lost track of them. A lot of them went to Ohio and to Michigan through time. That we do know. Just to finish up on his painting, when he was here after a while and he was at the end of his career, he started painting in a very different style, as more of an impressionistic style. Beautiful. That's Bear Creek. And this is Lake Silkworth. This is the only picture that we have that is anything like a self-portrait. He loved fishing. And he had a cottage at Lake Silkworth and one at Harvey's Lake. So he also, I was going to say it at the end, but he also invented and patented the fly reel, which is one of those odd things that you wouldn't expect someone like him to do. Now, this painting is in the Parliament building in Budapest. It's a very large painting, and because he was making a name for himself as an artist, he was asked to do an analysis of the painting. This is the man that is bowing is a Slovak. He is bowing before one of the Magyar, that's Hungarian, generals at one of their battles, and Father Murgas took great umbrage with this and said, that never happened. So that sort of alienated him. The bishop's secretary didn't like what he said, so when he was going from parish to parish, he was put in a smaller parish until the last village he was in didn't even have a rectory. He would have to stay with a family. So at that time, he got a letter from Father Jankola. Father Jankola was already in Pittston, and he was a Slovak priest there. He told Father Murgas, come to America, you'll be able to do what you want. We have a parish for you. You'll have time to do your painting. You'll have time to do your other interests. Now, I put this picture in, I love it. This is Madison Street, behind the church. And that's what it was like at the time the Father Murgas was there and the original wooden church was built. They had just started building that church, and then Father Murgas was there to help finish it. Oh, and by the way, my father was one of Father Murgas's altar boys. So I, sort of like end up with part of the legacy. Now, this is the new church. This was finished in 1908. Of all the things that he was also an architect. And he designed this church with a lot of characteristics that from churches that he knew about in Europe and brought them with him. This is the interior of the church. The altars were designed by Father Murgas, and the two paintings that you'll see in there are in the altars. He had them made in the Tyrolean Craft Guild in Italy, and then they were shipped here. Those altars are now in an Albanian Catholic church in Michigan. That's the Sacred Heart, and then that's the Blessed Mother. You'll see better pictures of them. Now, along with being the priest and the artist, he cared very, very much about his people. This is a group of his parishioners at one of the, I guess, Sundays having a picnic out at the Grove. He bought this land out in Dallas. This is the architect rendering of the Arboretum. This is a very large swath of land. It had a pool, it had pavilions with kitchens, and it was for his parishioners to go there. And in those days, the streetcar, went out there, just like the streetcar went out to Harvey's Lake. Now, along with being very much interested in botany and all kinds of things, he imported this tree. Now, it was very small when he got it. It's a weeping beech. When he brought this tree into the country, there was only one other weeping beech tree in North America, and it was in a New York botanical garden. And because of the look of the tree, the folk tale became that he planted the tree upside down and it grew. And they thought, well, he was so smart that the tree did it for him. So, but very unusual tree. You can see them now, every now and then. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be cut down to make room for, because the church is going to be turned into apartments, I believe. Now, this is his citizenship paper. 2 years after he was here, he became an American citizen. An interesting thing I found out, too, that in those days that if the man of the family became a citizen, his wife and all of his children automatically all became citizens. The butterfly collection, in his heyday, he had the largest privately owned butterfly and moth collection in North America. Only 2 or 3 other places in the world would have had any more. He also had this amazing network, because he would trade or buy and sell butterflies and ship them back and forth. And he taught my father how to go into the woods or the fields and find the pupas or the chrysalises, you know, and how to work with those. Now, this is what came out of the church, was given to King several years ago, and a lot of it was destroyed in the 72 flood. But many of the trays of butterflies just disappeared out of the church after his death. Now, these are the ones that are in there. The room is kept with a door on it because to preserve the butterflies, the temperature and the humidity has to be maintained. Now, along with all of his other things, he was very concerned about the people, what would happen to the widow when the husband was killed in the mines and so on. So he was instrumental in establishing several Slovak organizations, primarily insurance companies. And then when he and Father Jankola were starting to build the Slovak schools, they created the Order of Cyril and Methodius in Danville, and that's the mother house. Beautiful, beautiful building. I believe Geisinger is interested in it now because there are so few nuns. Now, with his other interest in people, he was also a great patriot, particularly after what happened to him with the Hungarians. At the end of the First World War, he and a number of other competent or well-known Slovaks met to create the country of Czechoslovakia. And Father Murgas's task was to raise $3 million to be able to do that. And at that time, that was no easy task. It's interesting to think that you could establish a country for $3 million. Then the Slovak government started recognizing him. This was a stamp. Our own government had a Liberty ship that was called the Murgas. The Slovak government at the moment is revising or reintroducing him. He's almost like a folk hero in Europe. I'm working with a group in Prague that are making a new documentary on Father Murgas. They were here 2 years ago and spent a week going through all of our papers and all the sites. So it's his turn.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Michael Navraki. I'm very happy to be here with all of you today. I have been researching Father Murgas since I was 16 years old. As Mike Stratansky said, I was involved in an interscholastic history contest called History Day when I was a high school student. By trade, I've been a high school social studies teacher for 26 years, the last 23 of those at Lake Lehman High School. And the reason why I became interested in this topic was that Mary Jean Tarantini, who was one of the greatest advocates for Father Murgas, was my high school history teacher. And she had all of her students in her Honors World Cultures class participate in the National History Day program. And once we learned about Father Murgas, my partner Scott Stefanidis and I decided to do a documentary for the 1988 History Day contest. And it became a labor of love. The more we learned about this man, the more we wanted to know, the more we wanted to dig into the resources. And so in 1988, our 10-minute documentary took first place at the district contest, first place at the state contest, and then first place at the national contest in 1988. About a decade later, that documentary would form the basis of the documentary that WVIA would produce. This project took on a life of its own. And after we had gone through the whole process of the History Day program, we then continued research. We added to the documentary, and almost 35 years ago, it will be 35 years ago on November 25th, we were able to get the state historical marker that is on the site of the Sacred Heart Church building, which still is there today. So I'm going to cover the historical timeline of his accomplishments in wireless telegraphy and radio. I'm not an expert on the scientific part or on the physics part of it. You know, I'll leave that to the folks that know more about that. But he comes to this country in 1896, and 2 years later, he begins experiments in a little shack behind his church. Mr. Andy Chuba of North End, who I knew very well and was a dear friend of mine, would often say that he and the young boys that lived around Madison Street would go play around what was called the Buddha. The Buddha was Father Murgas's shack where he experimented. And what really developed there was really like a de facto college of wireless telegraphy and radio, because a lot of these boys and men that were really interested in this would hang around Father Murgas, would show them what he was doing, and they would get interested, and they kind of became his radio students. After Father Murgas was experimenting about 4 years, he then develops this new system of wireless telegraphy, which does something that no one had been able to do, and that is transmit messages over land. The, quote, leader in the field at the time was Guglielmo Marconi of Italy, and Marconi had gone on record stating that it would be impossible to transmit messages over land, that messages could only be transmitted over water. And Father Murgas, you know, was easily doing that. About a year or so after that, Father Murgas applies for 2 patents. He continues to work on a system and perfects it, and gets the 2 patents for what came to be known as his tone system of wireless telegraphy. In July of 1904, he has a telegraphy company formed called the Universal Ether Telegraphy Company, whose primary goal and mission was to get the Murgas system adopted in the United States as the system of wireless telegraphy. That didn't happen for various reasons, as we'll see. The telegraphy company constructs 2 sets of identical towers, one directly behind the church on North Main Street in Wilkes-Barre, and the second set in Scranton at the rear of the property at 914 Alder Street, so that they would have 2 sets of towers that they could communicate between. In April of 1905, he does a successful private demonstration of his system at first, and that is a great success. Word starts to spread about Father Murgas and his accomplishments. Thomas Edison learns of what Father Murgas is doing. Marconi visits Edison because he's having trouble with transmitting or trying to figure out how to transmit messages over land. And Edison says to Marconi, well, there's this priest in Wilkes-Barre that's been doing it for months. You might want to go talk to him. So eventually that will encourage Marconi to come to Wilkes-Barre. In August of 1905, President Teddy Roosevelt was in town to speak at 2 meetings of 2 groups, learns about Father Murgas, and requests to get a personal demonstration of his system, which is provided to the president. The president then expresses his support for the system, and around this time, this is when the U.S. Navy is going to get involved and is going to start to witness and observe the experiments and the accomplishments of Father Murgas' system. So that leads us to what we are commemorating today, the 120th anniversary of the successful public demonstration that was done on November 23rd, 1905. There were messages that were transmitted between Mayor Fred Kirkendall of Wilkes-Barre and Mayor Alex Connell of Scranton. There were also messages transmitted between Father Yankola and Bishop Michael Hoban of the Diocese of Scranton. And this was a tremendous success, that he was able to accomplish something that no one else had been able to accomplish at that point. Sometime after that, he makes a rearrangement of his tone system. And one of his radio students, Mr. John Pop Stenger, had given an interview back in 1937 and had talked about how they were expecting that at some point Father Murgas would be able to accomplish voice transmission. So Mr. Stenger obviously had some type of apparatus there that would be able to receive that voice transmission once it came through. But when it happened, Mr. Stenger didn't know it was going to happen when it happened. It was a stormy, blustery night, and all of a sudden he hears Father Murgas' voice coming over the airwaves. And he hears Father Murgas saying, "Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Does anyone hear me?" And Mr. Stenger had to get on the telephone to tell him, "Yes, I hear you. You're coming in loud and clear." And so then eventually this then also led to a voice conversation similar to the wireless transmission between the mayors of Wilkes-Barre and Scranton in 1907. This was documented in Stephen Palacar's 1953 biography of Father Murgas. So at some point then, Guglielmo Marconi takes the advice of Thomas Edison and comes to Wilkes-Barre to visit this radio priest to see who is able to transmit over land. Gordon Shook, who was one of Father Murgas's radio students, talked about being present when Marconi came to the Wilkes-Barre lab. And Marconi started to really complain to Father Murgas that he hasn't been able to transmit over land and that overland transmission is impossible. Gordon Shook said that Father Murgas simply waited until Marconi was done, paused, and said, "Well, that's funny, because I've been transmitting over land for the last couple of months." So that then encouraged Marconi to keep up this relationship with Father Murgas. And interestingly enough, Mrs. Edna Super, who lived in the property that was adjacent to the Scranton Tower Yard, also talked about Marconi coming to the Scranton property to visit. She was a young girl, only a few years old, and she had expressed to me when I had interviewed her back in 1990 that one day Father Murgas came into her house with this man, and she understood that he was from Italy, and she understood his name to be Mr. Macaroni. So when her father, who was not present when Father Murgas and Marconi were there, when her father came home the next day, he had been away, he asked her what had been going on, and she said, "Oh, it was wonderful. There was a man from Italy here, and his name is Mr. Macaroni." And that's when her father said to her, "Well, dear, it's not Mr. Macaroni, it's Mr. Marconi." The interesting thing is that Gordon Shook and Edna Super did not know each other, and yet they had the same story, one at the Wilkes-Barre Tower Yard, one at the Scranton Tower Yard, around the same time of Marconi coming to visit. So at this point, the Navy assigns Captain Samuel Robeson to monitor and keep up with all of the developments in the Murgas system to see if possibly the Navy will adopt this system as their system. Robeson had expressed that he immediately dealt with some government bureaucratic red tape and that the government had sort of jumped the gun and had signed contracts with Marconi to use the Marconi system, and that they were very reluctant to get out of those contracts, even though clearly at the time Murgas' system was far superior. There are some other things then that unfortunately happened with Father Murgas and his endeavors in wireless telegraphy. There was a violent gale storm that blew down his Scranton towers sometime after 1907. It heavily damaged the Wilkes-Barre towers. He also has 3 of the principal backers of his telegraphy company who die, and eventually his experiments come to a screeching halt, and the U.S. markets eventually adopt the Marconi system. And then eventually what was really the final end was that right before World War I started, the U.S. government ordered that the Wilkes-Barre towers be taken down because the government was going to have total control of the airwaves at that point once we were in wartime. Now, there was a slew of patent infringement cases because a lot of these experiments and a lot of these accomplishments were happening around the same time, and so many of these scientists started to sue each other over patent infringement. One of them who did was a former associate of Guglielmo Marconi, Professor Reginald Aubrey Fessenden. Fessenden started to sue Marconi, claiming that Marconi had infringed on his system. And what is interesting is that in almost all of these court cases, what defeats Fessenden is that Murgas's patents are brought up saying, "Professor Fessenden, you could not have invented what you're claiming to have invented when you did, because there was a priest in Wilkes-Barre who had the same exact system so many years before. Therefore, Mr. Marconi did not infringe on your system." Now, the cases were never taken to the next step, which was, did Marconi infringe on Murgas's system? It seemed that, Marconi and Murgas at least had some type of an acquaintanceship, and that did not happen. But what is interesting is that Captain Samuel Robeson, who was assigned to witness every major test for the U.S. Navy, testified that he was there in Wilkes-Barre on November 23rd, 1905, to witness that public test long before Fessenden had created his system. This then brought up the question of, well, how could Fessenden have copied off of these gentlemen? Robeson testified that all of the details of Murgas' system were on file at the Brooklyn Naval Yard, and Fessenden was constantly hanging around there, and he was constantly investigating and looking at the details. And so Robeson testified it could have been very easy for Fessenden to copy Murgas' tone system because of the fact that the information was so readily available at the Brooklyn Naval Yard. So after the court cases were over, Father Murgas received some type of a monetary award. And in his true nature, because he was, the pure scientist, he was a pastor first and foremost. Instead of doing anything with the money for his own personal benefit, he purchases a stained glass window for the church. And so this was the story that many of the parishioners would tell with great love about how when Father Murgas received the monies from after all those court cases, that this was what he did. The other thing, too, to contrast Murgas with Marconi is that Marconi was a shrewd businessman. He was a scientist to a certain extent, but he was more of a promoter, whereas Father Murgas was the pure scientist and was the humanitarian. Father Murgas did not really care as much about the business side of his scientific pursuits. Finally, there was documentation of one last visit when Marconi came to Wilkes-Barre for the very last time to visit Father Murgas. Sister Germaine, who was a sister of the Order of St. Cyril and Methodius, was present on the day that Marconi came for the last time. She saw Marconi with Father Murgas, and then after Marconi left, Father Murgas, looking somewhat melancholy and dejected, came over to Sister Germaine. Sister Germaine asked him, what had transpired, and he said, I did what I thought was best to do. He said, I gave Marconi all of the information, along with the information in the patents. He said, he's a younger man. He'll be able to share this information with the world. I'm up in age. I'm not feeling very well. I fear that I'm not going to be around for too much longer. Father Murgas did not want this information to be lost to humanity. He put all of his own personal gain aside as a true pastor and wanted to do something to benefit the world, and felt at this point the best thing to do was to hand it over to Marconi because he had the capital, he had the money, he had the infrastructure, and that Father Murgas didn't care if his name wasn't on his system as long as it was out there and as long as it is what would benefit humanity. Father Murgas was correct in that his health was failing, and eventually on May 11th, 1929, is when he goes to his eternal reward. And I would think that as the good, humanitarian that he was, that when he did, enter through the pearly gates, he was probably, and the Lord probably said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, at this time, before we begin the reenactment, I'm going to introduce Rick Reinheimer to present a quick speech on radio then and now. Rick?
Morse code. That's our repeater IDing, legally IDing. So I'm going to do a little bit about technology, and we're going to try and use some sound to fill in the holes. So prior to 1905, the method to send messages over any distance was telegraph, which sent Morse over wire using a mechanical sounder. So that's what telegraphers listened to and copied Morse code from in the early days. Early transmission over radio by Marconi and others used a spark gap transmitter turned on and off by a code key. Let's listen to the sound of 1905 radio. I found a sound file from an old maritime station, PJ, in Rhode Island, that has a working spark transmitter. That is Morse code at about 13 words per minute in Spark. Spark messages were slow and prone to interference. Morse code used timing for correct decoding. When Father Murgas demonstrated his wireless telegraph apparatus, his tone system used sounds of different frequencies. Murgas substituted a high-pitched tone for dots and a lower tone for dashes. In an article in the July 1905 issue of Electrical World and Engineer, Murgas used the tone system because tones are well distinguished in physics from other sounds. Of course, there are no recordings of that day, but Murgas in that article referred to his tones as do, fa, fa. Using a tone generator, I use the musical notes do, si, and f, fa to represent the dots and dashes. Here's what the Murgas code might have sounded like. As Michael just said, Murgas later used the same system that imposed the tones on the spark signal to impose his voice on the signal. The Murgas tone system shifted from time-based to frequency-based transmission, a crucial step toward modern radio and frequency modulation. In 1906, Lee DeForest perfected the Audion tube, which later led to amplitude modulation, or AM transmitters, that enabled speech and music to be broadcast, launching a new industry, commercial broadcasting. In 1910, the beat frequency oscillator was introduced. It produced a side tone in a receiver, and Morse over radio now became the sound you will recognize. In 1918, Edwin Armstrong developed the super heterodyne receiver, bringing improved sensitivity and the ability to selectively tune a station. Armstrong later introduced frequency modulation with its higher fidelity and resistance to noise. By 1940, radio had become the primary medium for news and entertainment and an essential tool for the military. The transistor in 1947 revolutionized radio, making it portable and reliable. No more tubes. In the 1970s and 80s, brought us the integrated circuit, making devices smaller and more efficient. The IC brought about the digital revolution, leading us to today's high-speed, always available connection to the world that you can carry in your pocket. I've spent enough time chronicling the development of modern communications from the early days to today. Let's look at Father Murgas's idea in today's world. In fact, most modern digital communication methods use the principle of tones. Murgas patents describe both the method and machinery for transmitting information wirelessly using tones, an early version of something called frequency shift keying, or FSK. Murgas said that his best wireless operators could achieve speeds up to 50 words per minute. Here's what the Murgas code might have sounded like at that speed. In 1922, the military started using radio teletype, or RTTY, to send messages to aircraft. It was the first commercial use of frequency shift keying over radio. Here's what radio teletype sounds like. Kind of sounds like the Murgas code, doesn't it? The concept of frequency shift keying is still in use today. Modems, Bluetooth, digital radio and TV, and yes, your cell phone all use various methods of frequency shift keying to transmit data. You older folks here will remember this sound. Mayor's smiling. The digits dialed are tones, and then tones are used to exchange basic synchronization information, and then yes, tones at a much faster speed are used to transmit the information. The concept works the same way on radio. Today, amateur radio operators use various methods of frequency shift keying to communicate. This one's called Olivia. It uses 4 tones to send digital messages over radio. It's called multiple frequency shift keying. Currently, one of the most used modes in amateur radio is FT8. It was developed by K1JT, a physicist at Princeton, to let hams communicate efficiently around the world. FT8 uses low-power transmitters and computer software to encode and decode the signals. This is what FT8 sounds like. That is 8-tone frequency shift keying. As technology got better, pack more information. Integrated circuits also has led to the development of software-defined radio, using a computer as the building blocks for a radio for both transmit and receive. The components that historically were analog devices instead implemented by means of software. The computer and a digital signal processing have turned today's radio into a multifunctional, do-everything device. Technology with software-defined radio has let amateur radio operators communicate with other amateurs or radio operators around the world. This small radio is a multi-mode digital voice modem. It transforms radio signals to data that can be transmitted over the internet to a similar device anywhere in the world. Software-defined radios can also be as small as a USB stick. This is a software-defined radio. Hooks to your computer, and it can do the capability that a rack full of equipment would have taken several years ago. Today, almost everyone carries a radio transceiver with them. Your cell phone is a software-defined digital radio, and it carries some of Father Murgas's ideas, using tones to convey a message over radio as a foundation for frequency shift keying, the method that's used in most modern communications today. And we have two radios. This one and that one are both software-defined radios, and we'll do a demonstration of both later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, as you've heard from our historical presentations, in 1903, Father Murgas applied for and received a patent for a system of wireless communication known as the tone method. In March of 1903, the New York Herald published an article about his new wireless system, stating that Father Murgas could now transmit messages 70 miles on land and 700 miles over sea. The word got out, and in 1904, interested Philly capitalists, with Washington's blessing, founded the Universal Ether Telegraph Company and subsequently provided additional funding to assist Father Murgas. They constructed two huge 200-foot towers, one of wood in Scranton, and one a few blocks away on East Main Street in Wilkes-Barre to transmit radio signals. In April of 1905, President Theodore Roosevelt even visited and met Father Murgas and promised additional government support via the Navy Department. On November 23, 1905, a public demonstration of Father Murgas's tone method was conducted between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, with the mayors of each city and prominent Catholic priests transmitting messages back and forth. Navy Commander Samuel S. Robinson was also present to witness this demonstration. We're here today to recreate and celebrate that first-in-the-world overland transmission of wireless messages. In addition, we will transmit audio messages, which Father Murgas was able to do soon after the initial demonstration. So let us now recreate this historic event in the history of radio and communications. If you turn your attention to the TV monitor, you'll see the split screen between the Wilkes-Barre Radio Shack on the left and Scranton Radio Shack on the right. And at this time, I'll invite Mayor Brown and Father Looney up to the radio set, up to the podium here, and Herb Krumich, which was already at the radios. Mayor Brown will read and dictate the original message of 1905 from Mayor Kirkendall to Mayor Connell. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
To the Honorable Mayor Alexander Connell of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre and Father Murgas send their best wishes to you and to our healthy daughter, Miss Scranton. Since the last election, the wires of the machine have been cut, and we are now sending you this message without them. Respectfully, Mayor Frederick Kirkendall, Mayor of the City of Wilkes-Barre.
Okay, Herb Crimmage. Identify himself. All right, and Herb will now transmit the original Morse message from Mayor Kirkendall to Mayor Connell in Scranton. Okay, and Nina, now I'm going to pass it over to you for the reply message from Scranton. Over to you, Nina.
I'll probably make one.
Now I'd like to introduce Mayor Paige Cognetti of Scranton to read the 1905 reply from Mayor Connell to Mayor Kirkendall in Wilkes-Barre.
Do you want me to go to the podium or
Yeah, you can sit in that seat.
Yeah, here.
Scranton sends hearty congratulations to Father Murgas, our mother city's foremost inventor. May he live long enough to derive all the benefits he is rightly entitled to.
Thank you. And now, I'm going to call Father Looney to the radios. And Father Looney will read and dictate Father Murgas's original 1905 message to Bishop Hoban. Ready, and I'll transmit.
To the Most Reverend Bishop Hoban, please accept the heartfelt greetings from your Slovak priests through the wireless telegraph of Father Murgas.
Thank you. And at this time, Herb will send the original 1905 Morse message to Scranton. Thank you, Herb. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to Nina in Scranton for the reply message. Over to you, Nina.
I'd now like to introduce Father Joseph Marino, President of the University of Scranton, to read Bishop Hoban's reply to Father Murgas. Then Bill Gallagher of the Murgas Club will transmit the reply in Morse code.
Laudate Jesus Christus. Accept the heartiest congratulations of myself and of all the priests of the Diocese of Scranton on the success of your wonderful invention and on the honor you have brought upon us.
All right, thank you. So those were the original messages that were sent and received in 1905 as they were transmitted. And in that same spirit, Mayor Brown and Mayor Cognetti also have prepared personal messages for one another, and they're going to transmit those right now over voice. They're not going to tap out Morse code. But they're going to exchange over-the-air personal messages to one another in that same spirit that happened 120 years ago. So you ready? I'll start transmitting.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
To the Honorable Mayor Paige Cognetti of the City of Scranton. Mayor Cognetti, I want to congratulate you on the wonderful job you're doing for the residents of the City of Scranton. And I'd like to say that the next time we have a meeting, rather than do the traditional team meetings, I think we should incorporate Father Murgas's technology. And what do you think of that, sir?
I think it's a great idea. Be glad to help.
No pay involved.
That's no problem.
But Mayor, sincerely, you're doing a great job, and I'm very happy to be a friend of yours and a colleague as the mayor of the city of Wilkes-Barre and the city of Scranton work together to the common goal of what's best for our residents. So thank you very much, Mayor.
To Mayor George C. Brown of Wilkes-Barre, you have been a true friend from the first day that we both swore an oath to serve our cities of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, and it is an honor to serve with you here in our 6th year and soon to start our 7th year, serving together to make sure that Scranton and Wilkes-Barre continue to enjoy a relationship that makes our cities and our whole region in northeastern Pennsylvania more prosperous. It is an honor to be your friend, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon, in addition to communicating with whatever methods available from radio to our cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayors. All right, at this time, I would like to invite Father Looney and Reverend Marina up to the podiums in their different cities, and we will also do a similar exchange as what happened back then as well between the two of them. I believe Reverend Marina is going to send the first transmission. Is that correct, Nina?
That is correct, yes.
Oh, all right, very good.
Very good. When you are ready, sir. Well, greetings to my good friend, Father Tom Looney from the University of Scranton, also known as the Notre Dame of Northeast Pennsylvania. Some of you may know that Father Looney was one of my first friends in Scranton when I arrived here 4.5 years ago. And what better way to kick off a friendship than with Italian food and Old Forge, for which I am still grateful. And so, Father Looney, prayers and best wishes from everyone here at Scranton, and I know that we can count on the same from King's College. It's a privilege to serve with you in mission, and I hope that our paths will cross again very soon. God bless you.
Very good. And your response when you're ready, and I'll start transmitting. All right, here you go.
Greetings, Father Marina, and to your community at the University of Scranton. What a great joy that we have in serving God's people in the ministry of education and in the service of our communities, to build up justice and peace so that the common good may reign. We share similar missions of educating the minds and hearts of our students, enabling them to move forward to make a difference in the world, building communities of justice and peace. What a great privilege it is to share this wonderful and amazing ministry with you and to connect the cities of Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. When I first moved here years ago, I discovered that Scranton and Wilkes-Barre have very little to do with one another. So it's amazing that we have this opportunity today to reach across the veil that separates the two counties and the two cities and to build communities of friendship and of peace. God's blessing on you, Father Joe, and the community at the University of Scranton.
Thank you very much. That ends the reenactment portion of our program today. We do have a few special presentations. Tom Mick, if you'll come up to the podium, please. and Mayor Brown as well. I know there's and Father Looney's coming up now as well? Okay. Okay, Father Looney, please come on up. We can do it all right now, that's fine. All right, so, would you like to do the presentation, the proclamation, or the? Yep. Okay, yep, go ahead. Mayor, thank you.
I have two proclamations I want to present today from the mayor's office. And before I do that, though, I just want to say I've learned so much today I did not know. I'm embarrassed as the mayor of the city of Wilkes-Barre. But, sir, you've done an amazing job. I can't tell you. I'm standing back there saying to the county, say, wow, look at this guy.
68 years doing it.
Wow, great, amazing. But Doc and all the other people that I know as part of this club, it's amazing what you're doing. It's amazing what you've done in the past, and I'm blown away by it. And the history I learned about Father Murgas, I'd like to do something as far as recognizing Father Murgas also in the city itself. And as I looked at the different displays in the Father Murgas room, I got to start putting this head together, seeing how we can do this. And we're going to do something to recognize Father officially in the City Hall, in the city of Wilkes-Barre, and I want to really do that. So I do have a proclamation from the city of Wilkes-Barre, the mayor's office, but a lot of what's written on here is exactly what you folks have said today. So I'm going to just read the bottom part of this, but this is yours, okay? It's in honor of Father Murgas. Resolved that I, George C. Brown, Mayor of the City of Wilkes-Barre, on behalf of all the citizens of the city of Wilkes-Barre, do hereby recognize Father Joseph Murgas and urge all residents of the city of Wilkes-Barre to join in remembering the life and legacy of Father Murgas and his groundbreaking impact on the development of radio technology as the 120th anniversary of the first overland transmission of long-distance radio messages is celebrated on November 15th, 2025. Mayor George C. Brown. Thank you. The second proclamation is to the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. And once again, a lot of the things have been said already, so I'm going to just read the last whereas. Whereas the club has been active for 50 years, members participate annually in the American Radio Relay League Field Day every June. They meet the first Wednesday of every month at the Luzerne County Emergency Management Agency building on Water Street in Wilkes-Barre. Now, therefore, it's resolved that I, George C. Brown, Mayor of the City of Wilkes-Barre, on behalf of all the citizens of the City of Wilkes-Barre, do hereby recognize the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. And I urge all residents of the City of Wilkes-Barre to join in celebrating this significant milestone and to recognize the Murgas Amateur Radio Club's positive impact on our community over the past half century, November 15, 2020.
Mayor George C. Brown.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And Tom, you have a presentation that you'd like to give out as well, right?
I present this plaque in commemoration of this day to Mayor George Brown on behalf of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. And to Father Looney, I present you as well commemorate this day on behalf of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Towers now? Yep, absolutely.
And Father Looney, we also have another gift for you.
Talk to the mic so they can hear.
We have another gift for you, which is the towers that we would love to have as a home here at King's. So they're all yours.
As you well know, the Slovak Heritage Society of Northeast Pennsylvania collaborated with King's College under the leadership of an amazing group of men and women committed to the heritage of the Slovak community and the great work of Father Murgas. And so this beautiful Father Joseph Murgas Room was established here at the college, whereas a proud college founded in this area for the sons of coal miners. We're thrilled to allow the heritage of Father Murgas to continue. We're so grateful for this gift of the replica of those towers that transmitted those first messages across land and wireless. A wonderful tribute to King's College, a wonderful tribute to Father Murgas and to the Slovak people whom he pastored here, who he loved here, who he cared for here, and created great and wonderful inventions and held up the beauty of creation in nature and in painting and in so many wonderful ways. If we could only all be Renaissance people as Father Murgas was, we're proud to accept these, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Father. All right, at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Nathaniel Frizzell at the University of Scranton. He has a few remarks and presentations as well. Over to you, Nathaniel.
Okay, go. Thank you very much. I would now like to welcome Mayor Paige Cognetti back up to the podium, and I would like to present her with a plaque that says Father Murgas Day, presented to Mayor Paige Cognetti in grateful appreciation of your participation in support of Father Murgas Day at King's College and the University of Scranton. And I'd like to present this to you from both the Murgas Amateur Radio Club and the University of Scranton W3SR, and I'd like to welcome you to make a few remarks.
Thank you. God, this will look beautiful in Scranton City Hall. Thank you very much. This day is such a great reminder that we cannot go forward successfully if we don't know where we came from. So learning this history today, being with all these incredible students, incredible professors, and of course Father Marina, one of my favorite leaders here that I get to work with in the city of Scranton. We have to know exactly how we got to where we are. We have to understand our history. We have to be reminded and learn what things were like years and years ago to understand how fortunate we are to have that guide us into making sure that we continue to be productive and inclusive as we continue to lead into these coming years. Technology has come so far so quickly. There is great progress happening. There's also great peril. So I am heartened by the team here, the students that I see here learning our history. Bill, it's incredible to watch you do what you are doing and communicating in this way. It's important that you continue to teach our new students here so that they can go on into the next generations, the next years, and make sure that we are using technology for good so that we can be more productive in society, make sure that we're taking care of people. That's something that I always think of with the University of Scranton. The University of Scranton really helps take care of Scranton. You are an economic driver for us. You are a support system for us in this city. You have been here for generations, making sure that our city continues to thrive. Down in Wilkes-Barre, my dear friend, Mayor George Brown, King's College, Wilkes University, what incredible institutions and what a great leader in Mayor Brown. So I'm honored to be here today. I'll be honored, Nathaniel, to put this plaque in our office, and thank you very much for this celebration and all the hard work to make sure that we continue to honor our past.
Thank you so much, Mayor Cognetti. I'd also like to present another plaque from the Murgas Amateur Radio Club to Father Joseph Marina, S.J., Ph.D., in grateful appreciation for your participation in support of Father Murgas Day at King's College and the University of Scranton, and in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club and the 120th anniversary of the first overland transmission of wireless messages. So Father Marina, on behalf of all of the Murgas Club, the W3USR Club, we'd like to offer you this and would like to invite you to say a few remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll echo the words of Mayor Brown that I learned a great deal as well. So it was a privileged time this afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Frizzell. Thank you, Mayor Cognetti, Mayor Brown, Captain Kirby, all of our dignitaries, and especially our students for this very kind invitation and to be here today. I always like to try to put things in context when I can. You know, here we are in our beautiful Loyola Science Center on the campus of the University of Scranton, and it's in the context of science that we celebrate this anniversary today. Three notable among hundreds of other scientific discoveries happened in the same year that Father Murgas was launching his great work in 1905. Einstein published the special theory of relativity in that same year. In addition to that, it was discovered that Jupiter had a total of 7 moons or satellites. Up until that point, I believe it was thought that there were only 4. It came to 7, and today, of course, we know that there are close to 95 satellites going around Jupiter. And in addition to that, a Bulgarian biologist by the name of Stamen Grigorov discovered a bacteria that would later go on to contribute to the creation of yogurt, which we should all be grateful for. Lots of scientific discoveries in the year, and in that context, the work of Father Murgas was launched, and as you can see, has impact and implications for today. But all of it here at the University of Scranton, and I know the same is true at King's College, you know, all of it unfolds in the context of faith. You can't see it from here, but directly above my head on the top of this building is a huge antenna that Dr. Frizzell and others helped to erect here shortly after I arrived at Scranton about 4.5 years ago. It is in the shape of a giant cross, and you can see it from all over the city. And whenever I'm coming home from a long trip or even just an errand downtown, I can see it, and it reminds me that everything we study, everything we do, the acquisition of knowledge and wisdom, all of it is meant for the ultimate purpose of being able to impact society in a positive way and help people advance according to the plans that God has for them. So I celebrate this day in that context, and once again express my gratitude for your kind invitation. It was great to be here, and I learned a great deal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Marina. And we have one more presentation here. The ARRL, or the American Radio Relay League, is the national organization for amateur radio across the United States. I'm very happy to have with us the Eastern Pennsylvania section manager, Bob Wilson, W3BIG, who has a presentation to the Murgas Amateur Radio Club from the ARRL and the Eastern Pennsylvania section. Bob?
Thank you. Bill, on behalf of the EPA of the American Radio Relay League, it gives me great pleasure to present the Murgas Amateur Radio Club with this plaque that recognizes 50 years of exemplary service to the amateur radio community throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. That's quite an accomplishment, and we appreciate everything that Murgas has done for this community. And by the way, you have a great fist. You're very easy to copy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, I would like to thank you for the plaque in honor of 50 years. And here's looking forward to another 50 years of cooperation between the Murgas Amateur Radio Club and the American Radio Relay League.
Thanks, Bill. Great pleasure.
Thank you. I believe we go back to David Kirby now.
All right, thank you, Dr. Frizzell. All right, I'm going to ask Tom up to the podium one more time. We have a few more presentations to give. I promise we'll be quick. Here we go.
Mike Stratansky, come up, please.
Don't get old.
We have one of these for you too.
Oh, wow.
On behalf of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, we'd like to just thank you for being here today to share all of your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Put it back. And Mike Novraki.
I'm the keeper of all that stuff, you know.
One for you too.
Thank you.
On behalf of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, and thank you for sharing all of your knowledge as well with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here today.
Dr. Rich Abramowitz, it's your turn too. Rich didn't know he was getting one of these today too, but he most definitely deserves it for everything that he did to make today happen. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Unexpected. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. It was an honor to really help with this. And I have to give a special shout out to this guy right over here, Rick Reinheimer, who is our technical engineer, and he just did an incredible job helping us. And to Rachel Linzo from King's College, and her counterpart Marge up in Scranton, which Nathaniel will tell you about. But I want to thank King's College especially, and Rachel for doing an amazing job of helping us with this program. And we're very grateful. Thank you again for the honor.
Okay, and to end our program, I'm going to ask in Scranton Reverend Marina to please give our benediction today.
Let us pray. As we conclude our anniversary celebration, we pause to offer our thanks for the gift of communication, for the voices that are shared, the stories that are told, and the connections that continue to be made through such wonderful collaboration with our friends at King's College, our political leaders, and all those represented by the good people here today. May the air be filled with harmony, and may people be brought closer together, building bridges across distances and differences according to our work. Bless us, O Lord. Bless the hands that have built what has been created here, and all who contribute to its success for years to come. We offer this prayer with gratitude and hope, knowing that your light will continue to shine in new and powerful ways. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you very much, Father. All right, that concludes our program today. Thank you so much for being here for this event. There are some refreshments here. I would like to say a few thank yous. Mayor George Brown of Wilkes-Barre, thank you for being here. Father Looney, thank you for being here. Michael Sratansky and Michael Novraki of the Slovak Heritage Society. Let's see, Dr. Rich Abramovich, I know we already said thanks. There are a lot of moving parts for this program, and he made sure all the parts were fitting together nicely, so he did a great job. Tom Meka, thank you very much. Rick Reinheimer for all of your help in troubleshooting, and Dr. William V. Lewis of the Historical Society as well. Also, Rachel Linzo, Assistant Director of the Alumni Engagement for King's College. Thank you. University of Scranton and King's College as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Nathaniel, over to you.
And similarly, I would like to thank all the people who came to the University of Scranton, Mayor Paige Cognetti, Father Marina. I'd like to thank all of our students who have helped make this possible, the members of the Murgas Amateur Radio Club, for Celisa Brown, Bridget Judge, Marge Gleason, those people who have helped to make all this event possible. I'd like to invite all of our guests to come on upstairs to the Amateur Radio Club, W3USR. Some of the ushers downstairs will help you to find it. We have a nice reception with light refreshments, and you'll be able to visit and operate our radios. And throughout the weekend, we'll be participating in the ARRL November Sweepstakes contest, so you're welcome to stay for that as well. Thank you so much.